All right, you know what it is. Unique Make Audio, man. I got a world famous guest on here right now. Y'all want to hear about the Florida car? I got my man Jedd Lee from Saint Pete, Florida, by way of Miami, official Florida cat. All right? And he know how my slang is, so he don't take it disrespectful if I call him a cat or son. All right? He know he my son because he shine, and I'm his son because I shine. Tell him who you are, where you from, and what you was locked up for, big bro.
My name is Jeffrey Lee. Most people call me Jedd. I'm originally from Miami. I migrated to Tampa, Saint Petersburg area, went to Atlanta. I got locked up in 1991 for a crack cocaine case from 1988-89. I was on the run for about 2.5, 3 years from the feds. Did 2 life sentences, fought my case, basically did my own law work, fired my lawyers, and got myself out.
All right, that's what's up. That's what's up. So we're gonna start from the beginning. You know what I mean? Tell them what it was like growing up in Miami. What was your childhood
Go ahead
like?
on, Nick.
Yes, sir. Tell them what your childhood like.
Well, listen. I've been hustling since I was 10. I've been around drugs since I was 10 years old. When I got 13, 14, 15, I was moving marijuana back and forth from Miami, California. I probably, by the time I turned 17, 18, I had a couple of $1 million, a lot of property, real estate, businesses, car washes, tractor trailers, limousines, clubs, liquor license, you name it. I had everything except a helicopter and a plane.
All right. So in other words, you wasn't
So
bringing a
it's not
damn
really
thing and
much
you was just
that
doing
I
the
haven't.
damn thing.
It's not right. It's not really much I haven't seen, in the underworld.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So you 15. Where you hustling at 15? Where were you
Well, I was
hustling at?
hustling. I migrated to St. Petersburg, Tampa area.
Mm-hmm. So, all right. So, tell them
I
who
was
your
really
father
down in
is.
Miami. In Miami, my father is Wonder Man. Most people know him by Wonder Man. He came up, started selling weed out the backyard. We started growing marijuana in our backyard in Miami, bringing it up here to Tampa, St. Pete, Alabama, going up to New Jersey, New York area. And I basically got the game from my father and took it to another level.
Okay, that's what's up. All right. So his father's Wonder Mike, rest in peace. Tell him what was Wonder Man's charges, what he was locked up for, and how he got out. And let them know that you was on his case, so they understand that it was a family case, so they understand that father and son could go to jail. I just want them to really understand that.
Right. Well, we basically was on the same case from a conspiracy, crack cocaine conspiracy in 1988 to 89. My father had 9 life sentences. I had my uncles, cousins. My cousins had 3, 4 life sentences. My uncle 4 life sentences. My nephews with 6, 7 life sentences. So we had like a family case. And, all of us went to trial. A couple of my cousins, they copped out. They didn't testify on, we didn't tell on nobody. And my father, I think he done about 25 years, and they gave him compassionate release. Obama gave him compassionate release. I done 29 in the feds, got released from Coleman, Florida, Coleman 2, and had to fight a state case that they would never take off in Pinellas County. So I went over there and represented myself over there, and I'm home.
All right, all right. So my thing to you now is, okay, you said compassionate release. Tell them what was the compassionate release and what what happened after your father was released, so they understand how serious this is.
Okay. Compassionate release is weird. They probably had it before then, but when your loved one is incarcerated and they have an illness, and you can file a compassionate release motion if you have enough time in, or you have an illness to where the judge can grant your compassionate release motion, so you can spend the rest of your days out on the street.
Okay, how many days did your father spend on the street after he was released after 25 years?
Uh, he spent approximately it was 10 days. But what happened? He had got granted compassionate release about 7 or 8 months prior to that, and they told him that, but he didn't get it in writing. I told him to get it in writing, and he just went off what they said and not what they had in black and white. So I had somebody to check, because I basically was doing the leg work for him. I had to check and see that they didn't uh, process his paperwork. So by the time he went around again to process his paperwork, it was 7 or 8 months had done lapsed. So he only stayed out 10 days and passed away. From June
So his
26th, he
father,
passed away July 5th.
from June 25th to July 6th. What year was that?
2014.
All right. So his father did 26 years in prison from 1989. Was released because he was on his deathbed. Congratulations
Yeah,
to Matula
he had
Shakur.
cancer.
Yeah, congratulations to Matula Shakur. He just got granted his parole because he has cancer.
Shout out to Doc Shakur. We was in Atlanta together.
All
And me and
right,
Doc
that's
was
what
in
I'm
Atlanta
saying.
together.
So
And
this
I'm gonna pop this
OG,
bottle
damn.
for Matula Shakur. I'm popping this bottle for Matula Shakur and Wonder Man.
All right, there you
Yeah,
go. His
yeah.
father came home, lived 10 days, man. What was your trial like when you got locked up and they had you and your father in there going to trial together? What did that feel like to you, to be fighting for your life and your father standing next to
Well,
you fighting for his life?
me and him didn't go to trial together because I actually I was on the run. So I I followed their trial while I was on the run. And what happened was I got a heads up that the feds was getting ready to throw down on some big people. So my father was already in custody. So I gave everybody else a heads up. Look, feds getting ready to throw down on some big people. Y'all lay low. I don't know who it is, but come to find out it was us. So I had done already, made some arrangements and slip from, up under their fingers.
Mm, mm. Okay, so when you went to
But
trial, what did that feel like for
I didn't
you?
go to trial. I didn't go to trial with him. I went to trial by myself.
Yeah, when you went to trial by yourself, what did that feel like to you going in there with the process of the pick and jewelry and knowing that this is, for the rest of your life?
Mm, man, that's probably one of the biggest uh obstacles that I had to overcome in my lifetime. Because you up against the United States of America, they got trillions of dollars, and then a little money, a little drug money you got, it don't even compare. They gonna stack the deck, to take us to trial. It probably costs. Get over here and sit down. Go sit down, go. Sit down. Sit down.
All right, he getting the dog in order. We're gonna make sure he got the dog in order. All right.
Am I
Okay, go
still on
ahead,
the
Jed. You
Am I
back.
still on the screen?
Yeah, I took you off for a minute while you was scolding the dog. But move your finger. You good.
Okay,
You good.
I got my little Frenchie over here. He a little. You see him?
Yeah, yeah. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Where
Mm.
was I at, man?
We're talking about what it felt like going to trial. You know what I
Well,
mean?
that was the
And how
biggest.
old was you?
That
Tell them
was
how old you
I
was.
was they caught me on the run. I was in Atlanta. I probably was like 23, just turning 24, getting ready to go to trial for 2 life sentences for 2 counts of 1 count of conspiracy to distribute crack cocaine and uh possession of crack cocaine. It was basically like 4 or 5 keys of crack involved in the case. And when back then when they convict you or try you on crack, it's 100 times the amount than what powder would be. So they're gonna stack your time up. So with 5 keys of crack, if you get found guilty, then they're gonna charge you with 500 keys of crack. So that's gonna take you off the scale. That's automatically gonna take you to a life sentence. You know, especially if you have 2 prior convictions. So if a dude out there hustling, you already got 2 previous convictions. On the third conviction, they're gonna hit your head. They're gonna give you life or gonna give you 30, 40 years. So it was I had a good attorney. I had a paid lawyer, Fred Swartz out of Miami. He was probably working with him, after I, you know, read my transcripts 1,000 times. Uh, that probably was the biggest obstacle that I had to overcome to get back home to my freedom.
Okay, how old was you and how did it feel at that age fighting the United States government, the whole 52 states? Because the indictment says United States of America versus Jedd Lee. Tell them how that felt emotionally, what that did to you as a young man. And I'm tapping into something that I'm sure
Well,
no one else asked.
after I reflect back now and look at it, it's like a meat grinder that they put you in, to where you have the majority of black guys like me. I was going to trial, because I felt like, you had kingpins that was getting caught with tons and tons of cocaine that was flying it in, floating it in, however they was getting it in. They going to court. When I'm going to court, they getting 4 or 5 years, 6 years. Here it is. I got a couple of keys of crack and they trying to give me a life sentence. So I didn't understand the how the laws were fixed at the time to ensnare black men, young black men, incarcerate us for a long period of time, and then you got the people who bringing it over here. They getting a slap on the wrist, you know. And once I got to prison and got to studying the law and got to researching my case, to the very beginning of what, the hidden hands behind this legal system, I come to find out that this is another modern day slavery system.
Okay, that's deep. That's deep. Was you nervous at that time when it happened?
Yeah, of course, because you got everything on the line. You're looking at, hey, if you lose, you're gonna be in prison for the rest of your life. If you win, you go home. They try to get me to cop out to 30 years. I couldn't. I had too much to lose to cop out to 30 years and waive my appeal rights and stuff like that. So I was going all the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
going all the way.
All right. So here you go, 18 years old, going to trial. When they came back and said guilty on the verdict, I want you to tap into how you felt, your mind frame, your emotional state, your physical state, when they said guilty and when the judge sentenced you to life. I put the both of them together to speed this up so they can get a full feel.
Yeah.
When you heard life in prison, break it down when they said guilty and then when they pronounce the same.
Well, that's probably that's like a elephant stepping on your chest. You know, if you can stand an elephant stepping on your chest, then that's what it felt like. If you can get a 2,000 pound elephant and get one of his feet and put it on your chest and let him step on it, that's what it felt like. You know, all of it take all of the wind out you. But then, you know, you know what, I already knew what I was up against. Like I say, we was up against the United States of America. They got trillions of dollars. They're gonna throw it to put the majority of black men away instead of, you know, finding alternatives for us to be incarcerated.
Okay, so now you sentenced, right? Now you sentenced to life. When the
Mm-hmm.
judge said, I'm pronouncing you to spend the rest of your life in jail with no chance of parole, I
Mm-hmm.
know you said that it felt like an elephant was on your chest, but what went through your mind at that time?
Well, my mindset, you know this when me and you met. You know, I just said I got to fight. You know, I'm in one hell of a fight. I'm in a fight. So
See, that's what I'm saying. That's why I want the youngins to hear this and pay
yeah,
attention to what I'm saying.
you're gonna be up against the biggest fight in your life if you get caught out. You know, you out here, you hustling, and you ain't prepared. It's two sides to the story. That's the other side. You know, you could be out there hustling, getting money, you know, but it's another side. It's another side to it, you know, and that's the side what me and you went through. You know, going to trial, getting sentenced to life, going to the law library every day, dealing with the inside politics of being in prison, you know, and you teach a lot of that on your prison stories about what going on inside of prison.
Mhm. And I do that so that they could sit back in the comfort of their living room or in
Mm-hmm.
the comfort of their car and watch my videos and enter into the prison through my mind and my experiences so they don't have to physically go through it. Because what did it feel like when they put you in that cell for the first time? That's what I want you to tell them. What went through your mind? I want you to really think and tap into what it felt like the first time you was put into a cell and you know that they expect you to stay here for the rest of your life.
Oh man, that's probably probably one of the worst feelings of your life, knowing that you had everything, you know, that you ever wanted, and then everything is taken from you, and you put in a cell, and you ain't got nothing but time to think, you know, flashbacks of your whole life, you know, your family, your mother, your kids. Uh, you know, prison, a cell can be, it can be, you can turn, you know, you can, like with me, I always can take a negative situation and turn it to a positive. So when they put me in the cell, it made me wiser, far wiser. You know, I ain't got nothing but time to read and study. You know, so I was blessed. I was blessed to bump into you know, a mentor of mine named Michael Norwood, Mika, when I went to Oklahoma, and he hadn't been in about 15 or 20 years, and he was the best jailhouse lawyer in the system. So, you know, I told him about my situation, and he took me in and took on my case and showed me how to research, shepherdize, write motions, and I became like a bookworm, you know, so to speak, in prison, a legal beagle. You know, they used to call me a paper terrorist because I filed so many motions, you know, to the court. The court got tired of me.
Mhm. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. See, I'm tapping into the mind of what it feels like to experience this. At any time, and be honest, which I know you are anyway, but I want the people to understand. At any time, did you feel like you wish you would have told, or you should have told, or how can I get out of this, you know, as quickly as possible? Did you contemplate telling at any time, and why did or didn't you contemplate it?
Nah, I never contemplated on telling on anybody because I couldn't live with myself. You know, it wouldn't sit right with me if I told on my worst enemy. You know, I had enemies at the time, you know, but I would feel I couldn't live with myself telling on somebody. Somebody else out there probably will, but that ain't the cloth that I come from. You know, if you get into a situation, you know, you deal with it. That's how I was taught. You know, you deal with it. I put myself in prison. Didn't nobody put no gun in my head and make me, sell drugs.
See, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I want them to really understand, because I come up here and I speak and I let the people know under no circumstances was I telling. But
Right,
I'm not a super, let me finish that. I'm not a superhero, and I don't get any kudos for that. That's just a part of the rules and the code of the street. You understand? Nowadays on YouTube, they try and blend them together and make them fit, their scenario and their circumstances to justify them not, having the balls to hold the responsibility for the crimes that they committed. So I
right.
just wanted to be known that I have a man up here cut from the same cloth I'm cut from. What year was you born, Jay?
67.
I was born in 1964. So you
Yeah.
grew up in the 70s and the late 70s and the 80s, right?
Right. Right.
Okay. And this is what was taught to us when we hit the streets, right? That we knew this. This was an unwritten law, and people told us verbally. You know what I mean?
Right.
When they ask you to do something, they let you know. If anything happens, don't say nothing. Go ahead, Jay.
Right. Yeah, I learned that from, you learn, you go through certain things and you learn at a certain age, whether you're going to whether you're gonna be a rat, if you're gonna be a gangster, if you're gonna be a faggot or whatever. When I was about 7, me and my best friend Junie, we accidentally burnt his mother car and his father car down to the ground playing with matches. And we were so scared. Junie ran in the house instead of us. I was playing with the match, and I how you used to play with the matches back in the days and put it in your mouth and blow the smoke out. But I put the match down the air conditioner vent, and the car started smoking. So instead of us going to get some water and pour it down the air conditioner vent, Junie ran in the house, and then I jumped the fence and ran in my house down in Miami, and the car was on fire. But the man across the street, he called the fire department and the police. But Junie never told on me, and I never told on Junie. He didn't tell his mother. I didn't tell my father. So you learn at a very young age. I learned that at a very young age. You don't tell on your friends. You don't tell on you don't tell on your enemies either. That's just the way I carried it.
Okay. So now none of this is to brag. None of this is to badmouth anybody, because I believe, and I'm going to ask Jedd how he feel about it. I believe that if a person tell, that's on him, that's his character, and if he could live with himself, that's all that matters. I don't agree with none of that. I don't side with none of that, and I don't sanction none of that. When I lay my head at night for 26 and a half years in that federal prison, I slept good at night knowing that my comrades was free. That's how I felt. Now, how do you feel about that, Jedd, in your own words?
Well, I can sleep good at night knowing that I don't have that type of baggage to have over my head, like I don't told on somebody, or and you can't find that type of paperwork. You can't find that type of paperwork on on me nowhere. And that feel good. My girl, she say, damn, you can go to sleep good at night because I can, I don't have skeletons in my closet, like that. Most dudes that be done told on people, it bothers them. They can't sleep good at night. I'm sleeping good. I rest good in the prison. I slept good. I got a lot of respect from dudes, from California, DC, Chicago, Texas, Baltimore, Detroit, you know, because of the type of standards that I stand on, the principles that I stand on.
Okay, let me ask you this. You was, and I was as well. We was blessed to be on
Mm-hmm.
the compound with Kenneth Williams or Kenneth Booby Williams. Now,
Mm-hmm.
how do you feel about being on the compound with men of our stature?
What you mean? How do I feel?
I mean, knowing that, there's so many people that, that told, and like they say on YouTube, that wish they told. And we met a lot of
Right.
them. We met a lot of them. But how did it feel doing your life sentence, know that you're doing it, following the code, and then being on the compound with other men that was like-minded at the
Mm-hmm.
time? What did that make you feel like when you look at us and then you look at them? Because we see them every day.
Well, it's right now the way that I feel now. A lot of my friends like you and guys from other areas that had life sentences. It's like that's a how can I say it? It's like we almost like a gang that people people rule us out. To die in prison, we wasn't coming home. We was like the how would you say the odd the oddballs. But it's just a blessing to see so many dudes that I was in the system with. They coming home now. Dudes that had life sentences or still in there and they fighting. I'm reaching back and I'm helping dudes. Right now my brother and a couple of my partners, I'm helping them with their legal work to come home on the First Step Act or what I came home on. So it's just a blessing to see dudes that like you had. I don't know how many life sentences you had, but I know you had a few of them. I'm glad to see dudes getting out. And it was a blessing to be amongst them dudes from all over the country, all over the world. You couldn't in penitentiaries. And I'm one of the dudes that, like, say from Florida. If you came to say you came out of Atwater, California, where me and you was at, Unique. I had the responsibility. If you was from Florida or from the South, I had to check your paperwork. Meaning I got to read your transcripts, I got to read your docket sheet, your indictment, and make sure that you was clear to be on the compound. So if your paperwork wasn't adding up, then you couldn't be on the compound. And I had to give orders like, look, you got to go to the lieutenant office. We're gonna walk you up there, or they're gonna carry you up there. So I'm gonna make sure you get your property. I ain't gonna let nobody steal your personal pictures, your radio. But if you buck, then you got 50 dudes behind me. I don't think you can't stand up under that.
So that's what I'm saying. I want the youngins to understand that if your paperwork is not right, if you're telling, you know what I mean, that like my brother said, you're gonna be either walked up and leave willingly, because tell them why they're not allowed on the compound with us. You know what I mean? So they understand.
What in penitentiaries they really don't they don't allow dudes that don't cooperated against other people. They don't allow you on the compound. If they find out that you don't cooperated against somebody and you at a penitentiary, they gonna chew you. They gonna eat you alive. You gonna leave out of there probably stabbed up, beat up, teeth knocked out, eye missing. They gonna punish you. They definitely gonna punish you.
Okay, so that's why I want the youngins to really hear this, because they on YouTube and they think it's a joke to say, "Oh, if I get caught, I'm telling. If I get caught, I'm telling." Now, what happens to these YouTube guys when they go into prison, my brother? Explain that to them.
I don't really, I don't really follow too many YouTube dudes who like
I'm just saying in general.
condoning
Let me
what.
clarify that. What I'm saying is, when I say YouTube, I just mean the youth of today that think it's all right to tell, and that they're gonna go to prison. They're gonna do their prison hunky dory time.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
oh
Tell
yeah.
them what
You
happened to them
probably
when
you
they tell.
probably you're probably gonna end up doing your time in confinement till they find like a special needs institution where you can function. You won't be functioning around no solid men like me or Unique or Doc Shakur or Mr. Yahweh Ben Yahweh or dudes like Booby or Convertible Burt. You ain't gonna be around no thorough dudes. You're gonna be around a whole bunch of cowards. So birds of a feather flock together. So they separate you, the men, the cowards, to the faggots, to the chomos, the homosexuals. They break it down like that. You're not gonna be able to function in a penitentiary, and you done told on somebody.
All right, that's what I'm saying. I just want y'all to understand that, so you see. I just use YouTube as an analogy for them to
Right.
understand that, they think it's cool to say, "Oh," and they play the games now, Jed, as far as I'm a civilian or he's a civilian, this and that. You know what I mean? Break that down about the civilian and, the convict, meaning the person selling drugs one day, and then when he get caught, now he wants to be a civilian. How is that gonna play out?
Well, you have dudes, they want to play both sides of the fence, and that's understandable because that's the breed of dudes that's out here right now. I call them these some fake Instagram and YouTube gangsters and stuff like that. But when the time, if the time come and you get in a situation and you tell on somebody, you're gonna have to deal with that. Whether it's with your maker or the roads you're gonna travel in prison.
Okay, now give an example of somebody that you see that came in that infiltrated the men to believe that they was a man of honor, and then they found out that they was hot. We're gonna give an institution a hot in a minute, but
Hmm.
they was hot. Hot means told, you know.
Mm. Well, it's a couple of dudes that done slipped through the cracks, but word of mouth in prison. We get the news in prison faster than people get it on the street. So a lot of times the dude might slip through the cracks of being on a compound and his paperwork ain't right. And I don't seen dudes get, punished. You don't stand a chance because word travel like now they got core links, on the computer, so that sending out text messages and email. So you can be tracked anywhere. You can get on bop.gov and find out what any person is at in the federal system, and other means you can find out, where people are at. So you're not gonna, you might get away for a minute, but your name, dudes going there, they change their names, your name be one thing on the street, and you get in prison, you change your name to something else, but it's gonna run you down, and you're gonna get punished.
All right, so that's how that play out. But now what I want to get into so they really understand. That's why I'm walking through, because we got a man of honor that deals with the code so that the youth understand that it's no joke in there, man. That's why I tell them, don't get involved in crime. It's not worth it. Don't do it. Tell us one of the stories of somebody that you seen got punished once the institution found out that there was a rat that was amongst us as men. Not when they first get off the bus, because that's where you give them a chance to 30 days. When they first get off the bus, you got a chance of 30 days to turn yourself in and go to the lieutenant office and say, look, I don't want to be on the compound. But a dude that fooled you or fooled us to believe that he didn't tell and he was cut from our cloth, and then all of a sudden somebody sends a kite that says that John Blow is hot. Explain one of the scenarios you've seen and think about that. And I'm going to talk for a second for you to ponder it, of somebody that got stabbed up. Man. They don't have to be from your car, just from any car, and just let them know where they was from and how that car handled it.
Well, normally, that those type of situations, how can I put it, neat? And it's hard for me to pull up one of those instant like that, because I done seen a lot of violence, but I can't really recall, like, and I know it done happened, but I done seen so much violence in prison to where I know it done happen, but I can't see. My mind is not like your mind. You can remember every goddamn thing. I can't go back to that. I done seen a lot of dudes, get hurt, get killed in prison, but I know it's instances where dudes got ran up, for, their paperwork wasn't right, or they don't find out that they was hot. But I can't point no instance of that right now, because my mind right now, I don't kind of like, just like when I went in prison, I blocked out my past. So like right now, a lot of stuff that happened in prison, I don't kind of like blocked it out, because I'm doing a lot of different things in the streets, far as with my businesses and stuff like that. I can't. You got a mind where you can remember everything. You hear me? So that's why I told you, this YouTube platform, you can out talk me. You the best. You the greatest that ever did.
All right.
Now, you had to cash out me to get me on here.
You already know. You know what I mean? But just so they know, my man just joking when he said cash out.
I don't do a whole lot of talking.
Yeah, but I want them to understand that you just joking when you say that, because they'll listen to it and run and say, "Oh, he paid him to get on the channel," so they understand. Yeah, that's what they do, my nigga. You know what I mean? But he just used as a metaphor. So please explain that.
I'm just kicking it. I'm just kicking it.
No, because they look for things to run with on YouTube, because a lot of people watching YouTube don't have any content, no disrespect to anybody.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right, but you got a whole lot to talk about. That's all I'm saying. I don't really have a whole lot to talk about. Me and you, we kind of like, I'm like, that's why we hung together, because I'm quiet and you talk, so I can just listen.
Yeah, because like when we was in Atwater, and I told him I was going to tell him about the hitting in the head joint in Atwater, so I'm going to tell him about it with you here. When I got hit in the head with the lock. Remember what dude hit me in the head with the lock?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to talk about that one right now, so that, and then I'm going to splice this and I'm going to put this in one. This is where I got hit in the head with the lock, and it's the role that my man played. Now, I'm getting my dreads cut because, my mother was telling me that she didn't want to see me with the dreadlocks, because it put her back in a frame of mind when I was younger. And when, I was running with the Rasta community, and, Rastas is, ostracized like a Muslim is today. You know what I mean? That's what Rasta was. So I was getting my hair cut, and when I was getting my hair cut, it was a young guy that I was with, You know, good young man, really good young man. He hit me in the head with a lock, you know what I mean? Split my shit. But I'm still giving you the 100 that he was a good young man. I'm not going to say his name because I want to disrespect him. You know, he did what he felt was, you know, required under penitentiary standards, and I respect that. You know what I mean? 100%. But I'm getting my hair cut, and, you know, he was teaching me about the Facebook. I didn't know nothing about the Facebook. Young man, he wasn't locked up that long, so he teaching me about the Facebook, this and that. But he's real influential. You know, he's being motivated by, you know, the elders that's there. And a lot of the elders didn't like me because you see, I'm old cocky ass nigga. You know what I mean? But now I'm getting my hair cut, and he's snapping on, you know, while they cutting, you know, they cutting your dreads, you got patches in your head and all that. And he's trying to make the patches bald spots, things like that. And as he's talking, you know, I'm kind of getting in my body right now, which a grown man ain't supposed to get in their body. But I checked him. I said, yo, come on, dog, watch your mouth. I mean, you know, you think that's funny? It wouldn't be funny if I was sitting here telling some old stupid shit like I put my dick on your lips or something. You understand? And that was the violation on my part that warranted me getting hit in the head with the lock. You understand what I'm saying? Now, we're not on a homosexual time, but just even saying that, you know, a man's genitals in the prison associated with another man is what warrants whatever comes after that. But I was in my body, so I wasn't thinking, so I made that statement. And, you know, of course, a couple of other brothers heard it. They went back and they told him, you know what I mean? Oh, man, he done invited you to a private party. He's like, nah, you nigga ain't do that. He ain't on that type of time because he's a good kid. You know what I mean? This, you know, it's a kid talking. He's a good kid. So when he said, nah, I want to do that, you got to do this, got to do that. So now they pushing the penitentiary rules on him. So they put a battery in his back. And I go to the yard and I pull up on my man, Jedd, and I take Jedd for a walk around the track. I don't even remember if he remembered, but I'm going to pull him up right now so he could tell us if he remembered it to add to this story. But I pull him up in the track and I tell him what happened in the unit. And, you know, with me and the dude. And it's a good dude that I was good friends with. You know what I mean? Straight man. You know what I mean? I don't take nothing from him. Dude that hit me in the head, he 100% man. You know what I mean? And he on man time. But I tell Jedd about it and we walking around the track. You know what I mean? I don't even remember what happened. So I'm going to see if Jedd even remembered. You know what I mean? Where you at, Jedd? I'll make sure he comes sit back down. But anyway, let me move forward until Jedd sit back down because I can see that he's not sitting down. You know? So when that happened, I come see Jedd in the yard, Jedd sitting back. Jedd, do you remember what happened when I came to talk to the yard about that situation? Anything about it?
Nope.
Yeah. You know,
but I remember when you got hit upside the head with that lock and sock, though.
Yeah. You know what I mean? That's how, man, we could admit it. Like I said, I was wrong for even, you know, using the word genitals with another man. So I got what I deserve, and that's what it is. But I just want you youngins to understand that that's how strict it is in the penitentiary. The brother Jedd said he don't remember, so I'm going to finish telling the story. I go out there and I talk to Jedd and I tell him what happened. I'm telling him I'm ready to go put the knife in the dude. And dude said, hold up, that's his big homie right there. So Jedd pulled up on his big homie. Me and Jedd talking to his big homie. We tell him what happened. And his big homie gave us his big homie was in another unit. His big homie gave us his word that he was going to take care of it, and that was going to be the end of it because I told him I'm ready to put the knife in him. So now when he did that, his big homie went and talked to him, whatever, and that was supposed to be the end of it. So in prison, you take a man at his word. So his big homie gave his word. When his big homie gave his word that it was over, I go back in the unit. And while I'm sitting down watching TV that night, the other dudes that was in my unit that didn't like me because I was too fly, too cocky, drinking white lightning, smoking weed. I'm getting visits all the way in California. I'm on the phone all day. I'm buying 2, 3 different people pack number to use other phones so I can get more than 300 minutes. So, of course, dudes is hating. So when that's going on, I'm sitting down watching a movie, and I remember because I was slipping again. You know what I mean? Now, I made sure I'm sitting down, and normally I sit with my back against the wall, but I'm sitting out in the open area because it was a new movie that just came. So I'm sitting down watching TV, and I'm tired as hell because I'm up all night watching TV anyway and legal work and write my book of Raw in Harlem, copy the book of Raw in Harlem, hit the like button. So when that happened, I start dozing off a little bit. And while I'm dozing off, all I heard was an echo in my head. Boom. And I'm like, oh, shit, I'm thinking somebody fighting. You know what I mean? So I turn around to look, and I see a dude backing up with a lock in the sock. But I heard an echo in my head. I'm thinking someone is fighting and somebody got hit. because it rung in my head. I didn't even realize I got hit. You know what I mean? I didn't even know it was me. I'm thinking this is something I'm hearing out in the room. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I jump up and I'm a little dizzy. And a couple of DC homies that was there, they come and they like, yo, you all right? And the dude ran out the unit, you know what I mean? Because it was the move on. He waited till they called a move, hit me in the head with the lock, and ran out the unit so he wouldn't have to fight. You know what I mean? So I go in the room and the DC homies are like, yo, come on, we're going to move on. I'm like, nah, hold up. And I'm trying to get my bearings right because last thing I want to do is put other men involved to, you know what I mean, jack their bid off, mess up their bid, their time, you know what I mean, for me. You know what I mean? I violated, you know what I mean, when, you know, I threw the genitals in the conversation when I'm talking with another man. You don't do that in prison. So therefore, I already know that I have to, you know what I mean, be chastised the same way I would chastise the next man for that. So I'm in the room and, you know, my homie's ready to go move on him and all that. And it was like crazy because, you know, I come out the room and my joint bleeding, but, you know, he did it on the move and somebody must have told the police. I don't know what happened and shit. Maybe they saw my blood on the ground and he bust me in the head, in the face with the lock. So the police locked the unit down, called them. So now they do a cell to cell. They find me in the cell with my shit busted up. So they lock me up. So when I get locked up, everybody wanted to move on the dude. You understand? But I know the dude was following penitentiary code and I got to get my hands on him. If I want revenge, I don't want another man to go jack their bit off to go get their hands on them to go get revenge for me. You understand what I'm saying? So they locked me up and I'm in the hole, but homies is mad at his big homie because his big homie said it was over and that's what rocked me to sleep. Again, that's my fault. You understand? But in the prison, you take a man at his word. So his big homie was the one that deserved to be punished because he put the stamp on it that he had his little homie in control. You know what I mean? So now the homies want to move on his big homie. So his big homie get whiff of what's going on, that everybody that, you know, messed with me, get ready to move on him. So his big homie went and checked in the hole so they couldn't get to him. But, you know, I wound up getting transferred. That's how I got hit in the head with the lock. Y'all want to hit in the head with the lock story. You know, that's what happened with that. But just letting you know, man, it's prison. Ain't nobody immune from it. You know what I mean? Right or wrong, Jedd?
Yeah, you're right, man.
You know?
Right.
So,
but I've seen so many incidents. Huh?
No, go ahead. You see so many incidents finished.
No, I said I was gonna say I've seen so many instances of violence, man. I can't keep up. I couldn't keep up with it, Nick. You know how it is in the pen.
Yeah, you already know.
Man, the
Yeah,
police.
but you already know. But as a man, you know when you violate that, you're gonna get chastised or you gotta move on the person ahead of time. But I took his big homie's word that it was dead, and I liked the little homie. I still like the little homie, and he hit me in the head. You know what I mean? So if he watching this, I'm letting him know that, man, that wasn't about nothing. That's prison. You know what I mean? I violated. I got chastised. You know what I mean? As I should. The same way if he violated, I would have chastised him. You know what I mean? But when you're a man, you know the rules and you know the codes to the game, and you know when you violate, you're not immune either. Right or wrong, Big Jedd?
Right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. And a lot of times, your mouth can get you, you know, write you a check that your ass can't cash. You know what I'm saying?
There you go.
Because basically, like, I had one incident, and you know, when I was in Colorado, and it was a Crip dude, and you know, we was in the South TV room, and I called him a crab because we, you know, just have a little crab game, stamp here, stamp there, little dice game. So we all used to call each other a crab. A crab in the South means something different out west with the Crips. You know, that's like disrespect to the Crips. So the dude thought I was disrespecting him by calling him a crab. But, you know, down south, that just means you a po ass nigga. You know what I'm saying? But to them, it's like a very disrespectful word to the Crips. So the dude, he wanted to try to bring me a move. And he went to his room, got his knife, and tried to stab me. And I ended up taking the knife from him. A couple of homies from uh down south, they took the knife out of his hand, and we fought afterwards, and both of us went to the hole. We sell it back down the hole, and they let both of us back out. But I said that to say, words mean different things in different geographics.
And that's what they have to learn, that they put us in the feds where we got dudes from Chicago, Tennessee, California, Milwaukee, you know what I mean? So everybody have a different, standard of a disrespect. And their
Right,
standard of crab was the ultimate disrespect to a crib. But he didn't know
right,
that. You know what I mean?
right.
But I knew that inviting a man to your genitals by saying, it wouldn't be funny if, you had a penis on your lips, you know what I mean, was a
Oh,
violation. But I wanted to hurt him and make him feel like how I was feeling by him snapping on me. But he was young, so he didn't realize that that wasn't the time to do that. And it escalated into that, and I got busted my shit. You know what I mean?
mm.
So we're gonna move past that and get back to Jedd. Now, when you was in, let's pick a joint, Leavenworth. Give me one of the
Now,
stories you saw in Leavenworth.
I wasn't in Leavenworth. I was in Lewisburg. But
Okay,
I
where the
I
spot you was at? Name the
I can
spot
give
you was at.
I started off in Terre Haute, Indiana. Then I got transferred to Lewisburg, disciplinary to Lewisburg for threatening the staff. And from Lewisburg I went to Atlanta on a regular transfer. At Atlanta I left there on the disciplinary and went to Colorado. And from Colorado I got a disciplinary out to California. And I stayed clear conduct out in California, and made it to Coleman, made it close to home.
All right,
But
so give an incident. Yeah, there you go.
what I was gonna say about Lewisburg, when I first got to Lewisburg from Terry Hutt on the disciplinary, they sent me to from Terry Hutt because the officer lied and said that I threatened him and said I was gonna get the death penalty by killing him. So they got me out of there. But they sent me to Lewisburg, and uh, I went to A block. And when I got there, the this was around the time when the ABs, the dude from ADX had sent the hit on the dudes from DC, and they put me on the same floor where the Aaron Brotherhoods tried to take off on the dudes from DC, and they just had, some dudes had just got murdered. They put me on that same floor. I didn't realize, the extent where they put me at until I started watching A&E and seeing how the dudes sent the code letters over to DC. I mean, over to Lewisburg to take off on the dudes from DC. So when I got there, it was a lot of tension. It was a lot of tension between the
Tell them
blacks
how
and the
did that
whites.
play out? How did that play out, that incident with the DC and the Aryan Brotherhood that you saw, being that you was there firsthand? So that's good. But you
Well,
ain't got to say no names, but we're going to speak on it.
it had done happened. On that same floor. It was on the second floor. I was on A2, and uh the incident had done already happened, but they put me on the same floor, and I didn't realize. I'm young. I'm already mad. I got 2 life sentences, so I figured anywhere they send me, I'm gonna be the same wherever I go at. So uh it was just a lot of tension. Everybody had knives on them. You know, it wasn't really a whole lot of how would I say it? Whites wouldn't come to your store and buy nothing from your store. They couldn't borrow nothing from you, and just a lot of tension. There's a lot of tension.
A lot of racist tension.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that's what I'm saying. So you youngins need to listen to this so you understand that. Imagine you hungry and only person in the unit that you have access to that have something that you want to eat. You know what I mean? A Twinkie, a Snicker, or whatever is a white guy, but you're not allowed to buy from the white guy. You
Yeah,
know what
you
I
can't
mean?
buy it from them.
You
And
know.
they ain't gonna buy nothing from you.
All right, just so you understand. So that's how that play out. So now you've been in the system and you've been doing your thing. You know what I mean? You've been surviving. You've seen a whole lot of violence, and you adjusted real well out here. From I met Jedd, I remember the first day I met you. You know what I mean? Do you remember the first day you met me in the prison?
Where we at? Atwater?
Yeah, we was at Atwater, but where was we at? Do you remember? I'm gonna give you a hint. The law
We was at the
library.
law we was at the law
There you
library.
go.
Yeah, we was
Yeah,
at the
I
law
tell.
library. And listen, I can remember because you asked me did I know anything about the UCC, Uniform Commercial Code. I think you overheard a conversation with me and some of my UCC buddies. You asked me about that.
Yeah, so
Am I
that's how I
correct?
met Jedd.
Oh
Yes,
yeah, and
yes,
you
it
the one
is.
you the one who gave me the mutual fund information to where I was able to track my case number where it was trading at Fidelity Investment. You gave me the website to go on, and my girl downloaded the information that that showed my case number on Fidelity Investment, what my case number was trading for, the QSIP number, the fund number, and all of that. So that's what birthed me to start my website that I had at the time while I was in, called prisonsforprofit.com, because I know that all prisoners' case numbers was being traded on the market, with
Okay.
Fidelity Investment and other investment companies.
Okay, explain that to them about how our numbers, once we're incarcerated, become a part of the stock make market and it's a valuable situation. Break that down to them about the UCC and how they put our numbers on the stock market.
Okay. Uh, well, when you're in the courtroom and you get found guilty, your judgment, when they find you guilty, your judgment has a monetary amount. You might have a life sentence with a $8 million fine. So that $8 million fine is a commercial. It's that $8 million is like uh, a penal sum. It's a monetary amount where banks, insurance companies, and corporations, they'll buy that judgment and they'll take that judgment and bundle it up in mortgage-backed securities, and they trade it on the market. So your case number, you might be worth $8 million to them, and they'll take that mortgage-backed security and they'll monetize it on the market, and you become, like it's like you're in debt to either pay the debt off, pay the $8 million out off through a commercial means, or you got to do the life sentence. Versus a guy might have 5 years, he might have a 5 year sentence. His judgment might only have, $12,000. He might have a $12,000 judgment. So the more time that you have, the more that you are worth to like corporations, banks, insurance companies, and stuff like that. So I was able. Unique gave me the website to go to on Fidelity Investment, and my girl punched in my case number, and then all the mutual fund information that was associated with my case popped up, and she printed it out, and I was able to try to settle my case, which they took me around the block about that.
All right. So that's just to let you know, youngins, that you're a valuable part of the stock market and you become a part of the stock on the stock market just by getting convicted. Right or
Yes,
wrong, Jay?
yeah, that's right. I got it in black and white with my case, so that convinced me 100%. You know, when you
Okay,
can see it. Hmm?
didn't you win some money or gain some money from doing the UCC? Explain that.
No, I didn't gain any money, but I've learned how to discharge certain debts, you know, dealing with the Uniform Commercial Code.
Because I remember that. I remember when the police locked you up, and this is a good one.
Hmm.
I remember when the
Hmm.
police locked you up. I think his name was. I'm even gonna say his name. No, I ain't gonna say his name.
Ooh,
But
Merchant
remember, it was the blonde.
and
Nah,
Coleman
the blonde haired one. Yeah, Coleman.
and Coleman.
Yeah,
Yeah, Merchant.
I thought that was
Yeah,
Kelly.
yeah, Merchant. Nah,
That's not.
Merchant.
That wasn't Kelly.
SIS
The
SIS
SIS.
Merchant.
Oh, what
Yeah,
was it? Kelly
SIS
Merchant
Merchant.
then or something?
I filed a lawsuit on him. I filed a lawsuit, restraining order, and all that on him
Hmm.
because he came in my
Yeah,
cell and took my paperwork, took all
yeah.
my
Tell them
legal
about that
documents.
incident. Tell them about that incident. I'm gonna pop off the screen so you can tell them that.
Well, basically, after I found out that my case was being traded on Fidelity Investment, I, it's different type of books that you can read, cracking the code and looking for a way out, and a lot of other material that showed you how to put your commercial paperwork together to settle your case in a commercial matter. Once you know that you got the numbers that line up with your case number showing that your case is being traded on Fidelity Investment. So I drafted up a $50 million promissory note, and I filed it in the court. I sent it to the Treasury. I sent it to the IRS. I did a tax return on the note for 50 million while I'm sitting in prison. And one of the little SIS officers, they investigated like the police inside the joint. He told me that I couldn't do it. And I say, well, I'm dealing with the court, I'm dealing with the prosecutor, I'm dealing with the IRS and the Treasury. So if I'm doing anything wrong, they'll come see me. You just a you know a police officer. You's a really a security guard watching the goods. So if I do anything wrong with the courts, I'm dealing with the judge. She's gonna send somebody down here to see me, or the Treasury, they'll send a Secret Service to see me. You can't tell me how to settle my case. So he's gonna tell me about the policy, the BOP policy, and I'm quoting the law to him. So I say, okay, well, we'll just settle it in court. So I filed a civil suit over in the court because he came in my cell and took all my paperwork that I had pending in the court. So they locked me up and threatened to transfer me and indict me, give me another indictment. So I'll say, look, you indict me, that's what I want. I want to get back in court. I'm trying to get back in court where I can, y'all can open up the books and see, do a it's called a Treasury Data Integrity Board hearing. We can do a hearing, open up the books. Let's see how much money y'all done made since I done been incarcerated off of this bond or off of this security that y'all trading on the market. So we end up I end up dropping the suit because I had got close to home, and they would the SIS dude, another one, Brown, he came to my door after I've been in the hole like 6 months. He say, Lee, I'm gonna give you this ultimatum, man. I ain't gonna play with you. I ain't gonna spin you. He say, man, if you drop this suit, he said, I'm gonna let you out. He said, if you continue on with the suit, he said, I'm gonna send you way back out again. I'm gonna send you out to California. Well, I don't know where you're gonna end up, but you're gonna be way out. You're gonna be close to your family. He said, so make your decision of what you're gonna do. And I'm gonna give you my word. If you drop that suit, because I had the warden, the captain, the DHO officer, the lieutenants, anybody that was involved with going to my cell and taking my paperwork, I had them on the suit. And so they knew I had the marshals come serve them, you know. So that's like some big shit. The marshals come serve the ward and the captains, and they like, who is this? Who was this little young, you know, black dude think he can file a suit on us? So anyway, long story short, I said, Brown, I'm gonna drop the suit. You know, I ain't gonna push it. You know, because I already had an extra copy of my paperwork anyway. You know, it's mandatory that you make 2 or 3 copies of your paperwork because you might go to the whole anything and it might get transferred and your paperwork don't catch up with you. So I had an extra couple of set of copies of my paperwork. But anyway, I dropped the suit. I let the time pass. I had to pay the filing fee and everything. And right after I let the time limit pass for my civil suit, they UDC'd me. They came to the door of my counsel. They UDC'd me, and then they took me to DHO all in 30 minutes and let me out. But what they did do, they transferred the police officer. They transferred him for fucking with me because they know that what I was doing, I was gonna blow them out the water. And I told them, I said, I'm a merchant. I say, man, with the stuff, the legal stuff that I know at the UCC, I say I can take everything away from you, including your goddamn dreams and your grandkid dreams and your kids' dreams. I shut all that shit down. Well, you won't be able to use your credit cards. You won't be able to cash your check. You won't be able. Your wife won't be able to. I'm gonna shut all that shit down. And they knew when I say something, I'm gonna stand on it. So I end up dropping the suit. But after they let me out, none of the polices will fuck with me. I can come out the kitchen with bell peppers, onions, and all kind of food in it. They would never search me, never touch my cell. The warden told them to leave me alone.
All right, that's what I'm talking about. That's how gangsters move, man. My man on the inside letting them know he ain't falling for anything. He ain't with nothing. And he know how to use the system against them, the same system they used against us. Now, I'm going to tap out for right now, Jedd, because I got enough on here that I could break down in a couple of different parts, you know? It's recording even though you can't hear it. So I'm going to tap out right here and, you know, let it be known that, you know, this is Brother Jedd Lee, the son of Wonder Man from Saint Pete, Florida. So you know that there's gangsters all over the world, man. All right? This one just came out of Saint Pete. You know what I mean? So you can hear you, Jedd. Go ahead and say something so you can tap out. Tell them who you are, where they can find you, and what you got going on, your website, your Instagram, and everything else. All right? He's saying he can't hear me. Don't ask me why. So I'm going to tap out for him. Know that was Jedd Lee. I will be bringing him back. Y'all want him back. You know what to do. Put it in the comments. Keep it going. You know what I mean? All right? All right? We out.